Good afternoon. This is Melissa with the StockSwoosh.com and welcome. It is 4:14:18 on Tuesday, April 23rd, and I'm sitting here watching Apple, and the earnings are coming out on this tonight or momentarily here. And my call on this is actually that Apple gaps down. My call on this is that Apple gaps down on these earnings. And I'll go over this briefly here. We'll have to see what this is actually going to do. But my call is that this gaps down. And I've been making calls before earnings come out. I did the same thing yesterday, actually, with Netflix, and I was correct about it. And I did the same thing this morning at 11 o'clock when I looked at Apple, when I saw the earnings were coming out tonight on this. My call is that this gaps down tonight, and I don't know what they're going to report or what they're going to say. I'm just reading the chart. The system that I created to train to read gaps is very detailed. The system itself actually has helped me become a better chart reader and therefore a better trader. So I can tell and see things in these charts that make me have conviction in something doing something. And many times lately it's doing it. It's like I'm seeing it before it does it. Let's look at it here. So for this to set up right now it's just neutral. It hasn't really gone anywhere yet. But for this to set up correctly, this thing has to get under, it needs to get in the 380s. But I think it's going to do it, all right? When I saw this trading today, Apple barely moved with the market rallying, even this morning. It took forever for Apple to get over the high of the day this morning with the market rallying. This thing is very weak, and it's been weak. I've loved every gap down in this thing. Now, this very well could have gapped up tonight, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think this is going to gap down. Right now, it's just sitting here neutral. I don't trade this. I'm not in this now. I play the gap on the day on the open during live trading hours from 9:30 to 4. I don't want to be in stuff pre and post market. But I can see what it's doing, and I have in my head what I think it's going to do. And I think Apple's going to gap down here, in the next hour. So we'll come back and look at it later. But that's my call on this. Apple is not along until it gaps up to $600 at this point. That is the only way this chart will correct itself to the long side. This is in a downtrend. It's been in a downtrend. You don't pick bottoms and buy downtrends. And today, if this gaps down, that's a perfect reason why you don't pick bottoms or tops. The very essence of gaps means you cannot pick tops and bottoms. And quite frankly, that's really why gaps work so well sometimes when they do, because people are blown out through their positions doing silly things like trying to decide if this is actually the bottom in Apple. It's not the bottom on Apple. I've been saying that for a long time. And we'll see what this is really going to do today. But I have a feeling it's going to gap down. My gut instinct, okay? My intuition here, this is me, Melissa, and my read of the chart is this gaps down here. And it could gap right to the next target, quite frankly. I mean, the next target's 350. It could just gap right down there. This thing could, gap down $50 without blinking an eye. However, if it gaps down around the 380s, the play is then for 350. That's how I think it's going to set up too, to be honest with you. This is really one of the nicest examples, although I'm finding more and more lately, of a chart that I have a lot of conviction in to work the way that I see it. Why? Because it is. Because it has been. Because it's doing everything perfectly. Even the way that it traded today was perfect. Apple rallied a little bit today and stayed under the 8-period moving average with the market rallying up, and it didn't do anything wrong. And now it's waiting here, sitting here. People are waiting. And look, the volume did double in this today. It was less than this and more than doubled when I looked at this morning. So people are waiting to see what this is going to do. It really nothing's happened here yet. So I'll go back and check this later than after the earnings come out. But my call on this is that I think it's going to gap down. I'm not saying this for any reason other than the fact that I'm looking at the chart. I said the same thing this morning when I looked at these gaps, and I like to see what I think stuff is going to do the night, the night of the day before. And my call on this is that Apple is going to be a short tomorrow morning. And my call is that Apple's going to be a golden gap tomorrow morning, something that's going to rate high enough to play on the short side. Once again, by the way. So I'm going to come back and check this in an hour. This is Melissa with the StockSwoosh.com. I'm not in this. I'm watching it. I'm waiting for the earnings to report. My call on this is that this gap's down, and we'll see what it's going to do. And this is Melissa with the StockSwoosh.com. We'll check it again in an hour after the earnings have come out. Thanks, and I'll see you guys in a bit.